There is one thing no school ever teaches you. No parent truly says it to your face. And society intentionally hides it from you. That is, most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid the feeling of being a loser. They don't live for passion. They don't live for freedom. They don't live for inner peace. They live so they won't be looked down on. Everything starts very early. From childhood, we are taught to be better than others, to study harder, to earn more money, to become more successful, to gain more status. Otherwise, we are seen as weak, as useless, as failures. And that fear follows people for the rest of their lives. It wakes them up every morning with invisible pressure. The pressure to prove themselves. The pressure to keep up with everyone else. The pressure to become good enough. But strangely, the more people try to prove their worth, the emptier they become. Because deep down, they never truly lived for themselves. They lived for other people's eyes, for judgment, for validation, for approval. And Epictetus, a man who was once a slave, saw this truth more than 2,000 years ago. He said, "If becoming a loser in the eyes of the world is the price for inner freedom, then that price is absolutely worth paying." It sounds unbelievable, because modern society obsesses over winning. Everyone must succeed. Everyone must stand out. Everyone must become rich. Everyone must be better than everyone else. No one wants to fall behind. No one wants to be called a loser. So people throw themselves into an endless race. A race that most of them don't even understand. Ellipsis. Just look at social media. A place where everyone tries to appear happy. Everyone posts the best version of their lives. Money, travel, love, success, perfect bodies, luxury meals, perfect smiles. And then the viewer starts to feel, my life sucks. I have nothing. I'm losing. But the most dangerous part is, they forget that they are comparing their real lives to someone else's carefully selected moments. Modern people are trapped in seeing life through the eyes of others. They no longer ask, am I at peace? They only ask, what do people think of me? That is why so many people, even with money, still feel anxious. Even with fame, still feel empty. Even while being admired, still feel alone. Because they spent their entire lives building an image, while neglecting their soul. Ellipsis. Epictetus said that the most dangerous thing is not poverty, not humiliation, not failure, but placing your happiness in things outside your control. Money is outside your control. Fame is outside your control. Praise is outside your control. Other people's love is outside your control. The moment your happiness depends on those things, your life becomes unstable. You will feel alive when people praise you, and shattered when they forget you. You will feel powerful when you have money, and terrified when you lose it. You will feel worthy when you are loved, and worthless when you are abandoned. That is not freedom. That is dependence. Ellipsis. The sad part is, most people are willing to sacrifice peace just to look successful. They spend decades working jobs they hate. They stay in relationships that drain their souls. They force themselves to chase society's standards. They smile while breaking inside. They say, I'm okay, while quietly collapsing. All of it, just to avoid being seen as a failure. But think about this. If you wake up exhausted every day, filled with anxiety, filled with fear, then is that really success? Ellipsis. Society teaches people to win, but very few teach them that. Some games are not worth playing. Some races only make you lose yourself faster. Modern people spend almost their entire lives searching for validation. They want attention. They want admiration. They want approval. They want to prove that they matter. And because of that, they become slaves to other people's reactions. One compliment can make them happy all day. One insult can ruin their entire night. Seeing someone more successful can make them feel worthless. Their minds are constantly dragged outward. Never still. Never at peace. Ellipsis. Epictetus believed that the strongest person is not the most powerful one. but the one who is no longer controlled by judgment. That is the rarest kind of strength. Because very few people are brave enough to be disliked. Very few are free enough to stop pleasing everyone. Very few dare to live honestly. Most people are simply acting out the version of themselves society prefers. Ellipsis. Have you noticed? People fear being called losers more than they fear living miserable lives. They would rather suffer than be seen as failures. They would rather chase someone else's life than face criticism. That is why so many people are afraid to live simply. Afraid to leave the race. Afraid to disappear from social media. Afraid to slow down. Because they fear that, if they stop proving themselves, they will no longer have value. Ellipsis. But Epictetus said, a person's true value does not lie in what they possess. A rich person is not automatically happier than a poor one. A famous person is not automatically more peaceful than an unknown one. A celebrated person is not automatically freer than someone ignored by society. Because the outer world and the inner world are completely different things. You can have everything and still feel empty. You can have nothing impressive and still sleep peacefully every night. Ellipsis. Perhaps the most painful realization in life is understanding that you spent too much time living for other people's expectations. Your parents wanted one thing. Society wanted another. The internet told you to get rich fast, to succeed early, to build a life others would envy. And so you chased it. You chased it until you forgot what you truly wanted. Ellipsis. Many people are no longer living. They are performing. Performing happiness. Performing success. Performing confidence. But at night, all the masks disappear. And all that remains is exhaustion, emptiness, loneliness, and the question they spent years avoiding. If nobody validated me, who would I really be? Ellipsis. That is when Epictetus's philosophy becomes terrifying. Because it forces people to confront the truth. That, if you need others to confirm your worth, you were never truly free. Ellipsis. Real freedom begins when you stop trying to impress people. When you stop proving yourself. When you stop competing. When you stop trying to satisfy everyone. You simply live according to what you believe is right. Whether people understand it or not. Whether they judge you or not. That is real strength. Ellipsis. But that path is lonely. Because the moment you stop following the crowd will think you failed. When you choose simplicity, they call you unambitious. When you reject the race, they call you weak. When you stop showing off, they assume you have nothing. But people who understand the value of peace no longer need to win every gaze. Ellipsis. There are people society calls losers. They are not famous, not extraordinarily rich, not admired by millions. But they are free to be themselves. They do not need to pretend. They do not need to force themselves every day. They do not live under constant pressure to prove their worth. And sometimes, that is the rarest kind of wealth. Ellipsis. Epictetus once said, if you want to become unconquerable, give up the things others can use to control you. Think carefully about that. If compliments control your emotions, you will always depend on them. If money controls your peace, you will always feel insecure. If fame defines your value, you will always live in fear. People suffer, not because they lack too much, but because they depend too heavily on things that can disappear. Ellipsis. In the end, life is shorter than we think. And one day, all comparison will become meaningless. All competition will disappear. All attention will fade away. And what remains is only your soul. Is it at peace? Did you truly live for yourself? Or did you spend your entire life trying to become someone acceptable to others? Ellipsis. So, if the whole world calls you a loser, but you no longer have to live a fake life, no longer stay awake drowning in pressure, no longer chase validation, no longer betray yourself just to satisfy society, then maybe you are freer than most people being praised out there. Ellipsis. And perhaps the real winners were never the ones admired by the world, but the ones who manage to keep inner peace. In a world obsessed with competition. If this message resonated with you, leave a gentle like or comment the number 8 to spread more perspectives like this.